coverage, guys. Glad to have you here. Obviously, big news coming out of Nebraska today with Scott Frost. Scott Frost being done and getting fired, getting the boot. I don't think that's really a surprise to probably anybody, to be honest.
The only surprise would be that we were going to wait till October 1st until his buyout dropped in half, and I expected that then, and it happened today. So I was a little bit shocked.
Yeah.
But I'm not, because we suck.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people were thinking is, hey, we're gonna wait until we get to that buyout, October 1st, and save what $7.5 million, I think is what it was if we waited.
Trev obviously didn't care.
And I think Trev came out with a good message as well about
100%.
What the deal was, his discussion. I mean, Trev had to make some tough decisions when he was at UNO, which a lot of people still don't like him for. But I think
it's made UNO an entirely better program as a whole, if you ask me. So
yeah, it's not an easy decision, but we all know it's a business decision as well when it comes to football. And right now, I mean, one thing that you have to keep in mind too is people are like, oh, what about these college kids, this and that, but I mean, they're amateur athletes now. And officially amateur athletes.
They can come and go as they please, and it's gonna probably get worse before it gets better because a lot of these players will probably leave.
Yep.
Which sucks because we have a lot of good players, I think, but it's kind of. I mean, we gotta make a change. It's the same movie every week for 5 years.
So Caroline, real quick on your about the wrestlers. I mean, this is completely different because they're not cutting the football program per se. What happened there was I don't even blame Trev for that. There was a lot of things.
That was not Trev's fault.
There was a lot of things that happened when Trev got hired on to be the AD at UNO that he had no control over. There's decisions already being made. I guarantee behind his back, he's the one who came out with the news. But I get what you're saying. It's of course the kids. They love Scott Frost. They like Scott Frost. They want to fight for him. They want to play for him. They're going to talk good about him, but when it comes to a Power 5 program, there's not a single Power 5 program in the country who's, for one, going to put up with probably a 5th losing season in a row, and also losing to a Sun Belt team the way we did, because our defense was trash, to also losing Northwestern, who just lost to a basketball school in Duke yesterday, when we were clearly the more talented team. There's no excuse.
Not to mention the lackluster look against North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
Struggled until late in the third quarter. This is not Nebraska football.
Yeah.
And, I woke up this morning just banking on saying 7 words in a show today because I didn't want to even talk about the game. And then Frost gets fired, and now here we are. But, yeah, I mean, again, I say, same movie for 5 years every week.
Yeah, and sorry, I missed the name. Someone mentioned send Frost down to Alabama, have him coach with Saban.
And you know what? He'd probably be fucking phenomenal. I'm sorry. But, yeah.
But then, sorry, we'll get some comments here real quick. Hoping the QB running backs stay. A lot of QBs and running backs came for other reasons. QBs came for Whipple. I mean, Whipple brought them here. Part of it's Frost, of course, but
a lot of people came because of Mickey Joseph, and he's the interim head coach, and I sure hope that they stay. And a lot of the recruits that we have coming in are coming because of Mickey Joseph. So I hope that continues to stay the way that it is right now. But who knows?
Yeah, Micah asked about a proven coach that we could bring in. Ross just mentioned Fickle and Campbell. I've heard those names over the last couple of years since Frost, when Frost was struggling. Those could be potential names. A lot of people have eluded and thrown out rumors about Urban Meyer, which, God, I hope not. I just don't like him as a human being in general, and I don't care if he wins games in Nebraska. He's a trash human being, in my opinion. So.
And I've heard Bill O'Brien too, and I know he got crucified yesterday because of their performance against Texas. So I don't know what the answer is. I think, like I said, it's got to be somebody from within that can keep what we have the positive of what we have, and not like a big splash name, because the media just crucifies everything. And I'm sorry, maybe we're part of that, but the media just watches every move that you make and criticizes every wrong step. Like you went right instead of you going left. Like, and I know that this is all we have. This is rec football. It's all we have here in the state. But we need something different.
Yeah, and Nathan, I wouldn't take Stoops. I wouldn't take Meyer. If we get Meyer, I'm actually no longer. I'm not a Husker fan until Urban Meyer gets fired. I don't. That human being is not worth me watching Nebraska anymore. So, yeah, I mean, again, Mike asked the question, why would someone like Fickle or Campbell want to come to Nebraska? Shit. Why do we need to look outside? We got Mickey Joseph. What if Mickey Joseph is our candidate for head coach and he just stays as the head coach?
And that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, do it with somebody that's not, we're not bringing Brian Kelly in or Urban Meyer or, Bill O'Brien or somebody that there's going to be just so much hype around. Why don't we just slow play it with someone that's already in the program, that already is established, and just roll it from there?
Yeah, I got Mickey. I'm all about Mickey Joseph.
I'm definitely down with that.
I hope he plays. I hope he does well. Again, if that's the move that they want to make, which a lot of people speculated bringing in Mickey Joseph was part of the reason why they brought him in, is because they knew Frost's tenure was coming up. And Mickey was that next in line head coach, a proven coach down at LSU, and so a lot of people thought that he could be the reason why they brought him in. One of the biggest reasons.
And maybe it was.
What if we bring him in as a head coach? Someone did mention, what about, it's the players, not the coaches, and to an extent, yes. I mean, as we know, in any sport, especially professional and now amateur sports and college athletics, the head coach is the CEO on the team, and when in any business the team doesn't perform well, the CEO is generally the one that takes the brunt of that force. And so you have to look at, a couple people have already mentioned, Chenander. Shoot, our defense, horrible against Northwestern. Again, lost to a basketball school. Horrible yesterday.
Given up 1,500 yards in 3 games against the 3 worst opponents that we're going to play on our schedule this year, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Maybe Illinois, add them in there, but they've actually been pretty decent. So we can only go down from here, if you ask me. So I'm with you. And what's tricky is we talked about Chenander, like, coming into the season, especially with how good the defense was last year. The question before the season was, is Chenander going to be gone after this year? It was that he might take an higher up job after the season. That is out of the question, if you ask me. This is just an embarrassment as far as defense goes. This is not black shirts. This is not at all Nebraska football.
Well, that's the thing. Like we didn't think there'd be such a big drop off from last year, like we're seeing now, and that's.
But our offense is actually better, which is crazy.
Yeah, but the offense very slow start against Northwestern. Very slow start last week. And I mean, it's like slow start against Northwestern. They were awful against Northwestern, to be honest. But I thought, honestly, the one thing that could potentially save Frost a few more weeks was the way the offense performed. I was thinking maybe they get rid of Chenander first, because guess what? That's a piss poor performance against a Sun Belt team that we made. Again, how many weeks and for the last however many years, 8 years we've been doing this show, adjustments, halftime adjustments. Nebraska does not make halftime adjustments in any form, shape, anything to be successful in the second half, whether you're winning or losing. And we don't make in-game adjustments to get any better to help us win the game. And that's what we didn't do on defense yesterday. Made any adjustments. We couldn't stop the slants. We let them beat us deep. We did horrible on the run game. Like, just defensively, we don't fill the gaps. We don't fill the holes. We're lost out there. Everybody's lost. And you guys are lost.
It was true. It's so true. And we've talked about it. Like, the talent on the defense, for me, personally, I love a lot of those kids that we have. And they just picked us apart in every aspect. I mean, no matter what play they ran, whether they ran the ball or threw it, they were getting positive yards.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get pressure on the quarterback. We couldn't cover, in the secondary. And I like
we couldn't tackle.
I got those linebackers, but we can't tackle. Like, it's just absolutely mind blowing
And Ross says it here too. And I think this is probably the running theme across Nebraska fans. The guy who absolutely loves Nebraska football, wanted to be successful at Nebraska football. Everybody was excited to have him at Nebraska football. Couldn't get it done.
It was the biggest home run hire of all time, if you ask me. I mean, it was just the biggest home run hire. He was so good for a short period of time, unfortunately, and that's why people like Jason Huntington said, "Be careful what you wish for," and we were like, we didn't wish for it, but it was the biggest home run hire, and it was the biggest flop.
Yep.
So
yeah, and Chase mentions here too. It's development again. We've
100%.
We ran into that problem, and why we got rid of some of the coaches after last season was because of lack of development. QB development per se was awful, and then we wanted new coaches to come in. So now we have other coaches coming in to help with development. But what are we doing on the defensive side of the ball? I don't know. We have Root as our linebackers coach, and our linebackers have taken such a big fall from last year.
Setback.
We lost Doman as a linebacker. That was the only linebacker that we really lost that mattered. And then it's like, what?
You know,
what we're doing.
The funny thing, I guess, is, you know, my wife she loves Nebraska football, but she doesn't really know anything. She said, I guess Cam Taylor-Britt and JoJo Doman were pretty big for us, huh? Yes, I guess they were. Because now we look like shit on defense.
Yeah, and so, again, I think this has been something that's been said over the years. I still don't disagree. I think Frost has gotten us in a better spot with the program, not on the winning side of things, but the way things should be done. And we're in the worst state in the history of the football program when he took over. So I don't know. It's tough.
It is, especially when you still get sellout crowds when you've been this bad.
Yeah.
You know, what are we, 1-13 in the last 14 games, something like that?
Yeah.
Or, you know, or at least in one-score games, we've lost like 9 in a row.
Donnie wants Adam Carricker to come.
No, and I don't know if you saw Carricker Chronicles, but he said to fire Frost, and we did. But someone commented, 100 people commented, saying, are you next up, or do you want to be a part of this coaching staff? And come on, Adam, where you at?
Yeah, for those that don't know, Adam had some heart surgery this last year. I don't think his heart can handle it, to be honest. We love Adam.
Not this program, not this team.
We talked quite a few times with Adam, but we're breaking some bad records. There's not good records that we're breaking. As soon as Georgia Southern got the ball back yesterday, I'm looking at the score and I'm like, they're gonna score and we're gonna lose by a field goal.
It was the same thing when Alabama got the ball back against Texas yesterday.
Yep.
It was like they left a minute and 26 left on the clock. They're going to go down, kick a field goal, win the game.
Yep.
And I felt the same way because we could not stop them.
Yeah. And here, so Blake mentioned about Fabian Washington calling for Frost said he was high yesterday. Here's what's interesting about former Husker football players is a lot of them were all on the Scott Frost train. They were excited to have him, thought he was the next guy, but not everybody. There's a lot of people who weren't all about Frost. They thought he wasn't a good hire. They thought he wasn't going to be successful. But again, as fans, we're thinking, you know what? Let's give him a shot. Let's see what happens. And
he had a good coaching history.
As a coordinator more than anything else.
As a coordinator more than anything, yeah.
One winning season as a head coach, and so
right.
we took a gamble, if you will. It wasn't you could say a home run hire, but I think it was more of a gamble than it was a home run hire. He was the hottest coach at the time because of what he did at UCF, and he came in. He was a little arrogant. He was a little maybe over his head with how he spoke to the media. And then he got that shoved down his throat his first year coaching the Big Ten, and every year since then.
You would have thought after that first year, because I agree. The only reason I said it was a home run hire was because we had a terrible coach that we thought.
Yep.
Still think, but and you got a coach that has a winning season and beats a team that beat both teams that were in the national championship. So. How can you not? And he was a player in Nebraska, and he's a Nebraska kid, small-time Nebraska. So, it on paper, it was a home run hire, I guess, is what I meant, more than anything.
Well, and
So go ahead.
Yeah, it's it's a lot of Dalton says a lot of ex-players are embarrassed and yes, it's still their program, like their players, especially the ones that played on winning teams, not teams that since 2014. So they played on winning teams, and that's what they want to see is us get back to winning. And so to continually see the same results year after year, game after game. Again, football is a business. It is a business decision. They are college kids, but they are amateur athletes. They are getting paid now. So you can feel bad all you want, but he came in hot, and that frost hit him just as much as it did the rest of Nebraska, because nobody thought he was going to fall on his face as much as he did as a head coach, and it sucks.
And
it sucks.
You know,
it really does.
Another funny thing is, it was the same story, same movie every year with Bo Pelini. He would win 9 games every year, but the big games would get blown out, and people were so fed up with that. But do you miss that now?
Yeah.
Do you miss winning 9 games against the teams like Georgia Southern we should beat? We win like 52-17 in that game.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Jake mentioned Clay Helton built a better program in the Sun Belt in 9 months than Frost did in 5 years.
And the Sun Belt had a huge day yesterday. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you can take that loss yesterday against us, but they beat Notre Dame. They beat Texas A&M. Every team won on the road. That's truly incredible. That just goes to show you that things are progressing a little bit, I guess, in this sport. And what's funny is, when we were going to do a show today, I had in the back of my mind that after last week, and I know it's the first week, but it was just like, there's no parity in college football anymore. Because it's like, if you look at the college football playoff, there's been like 10 teams that have ever made the college football playoff. Like 7 of them have made it like 5 or more times, and like 3 of them made it twice, and then a handful have made it once. And it's like, okay, now they're going to expand to 12. That's cool. I love that, because now we're going to get, not all the same recruits are going to go to Alabama. They're not all going to go to Clemson.
Yep.
But after yesterday, like, that was kind of a wake-up call to the whole college football world that you better be on your game every week.
Yeah.
And I like it.
Yeah. And so
except for us.
Yeah. So Keevan mentions here too. How do you keep the defensive coach? I don't know he's going to last much longer, to be honest. If we continue to have these bad defensive performances, he'll be gone too. Shenander will be first. Again, he's a CEO on the defensive side, so he'll be first to go on the defense. If anybody goes on defense, it's going to be him first. I don't know who gets elevated. I don't know if that's going to be someone like Rude that gets elevated. I have no idea, but it's going to be tough because, now we're Charlie Weiss. Tim, just stop. No Urban, no Charlie Weiss. Is he even alive still? But listen, I think what we have to look at now is trying to save the season. For whatever we possibly can, try to get whatever wins we can get. Has anyone watched Iowa yet? And they put up 7 points last week. 7 points yesterday?
And their 7 points last week was a field goal and 2 safeties. So
they're awful. So if we don't beat them this year, I don't care who's coaching. We have an offense that should be scoring a lot of points. Even their defense is actually their punter is the best part of their team. If we don't beat Iowa this year, then I don't care. Get rid of everyone. I don't even care. Iowa's offense is worse than last year. Their running game isn't as good as it was last year, but I'm glad Iowa State beat them. Lance Leopold. I think there's a lot of names out there. Chris Kyman. Again, there's a lot of names out there. It's who wants to come here, how much do we got to pay them, and what resources do we have, and what coaches are they going to bring. Instead of saying, hey, you can bring whatever coaches you want, I think someone else should maybe have a little bit of a say in who they're bringing and who they're hiring, rather than, just bring who you want. Because, look, Frost did that, and it didn't work.
And, you want the big splash hire, obviously.
Christine is going to be, Mickey Joseph is taking over Christine.
You want that big splash hire, but, like I said, maybe it's under the radar. Like, maybe that's what we need. And I know that was kind of Mike Riley, and that obviously didn't pan out, but we need just like something that is going to be consistency.
Yeah.
And the one thing I was going to say is the difference between I've heard a lot of people say, why don't we just run the ball like we did in the 90s, just pound the rock? And it's like, here's the thing, our offensive line and defensive line are not good. No. And that's what it takes to be competitive in college football these days, and we suck in both aspects. And I'm sorry, I love the kids that play, some of those kids that play those positions, but that's where we need to recruit. Our big things is like, we get this wide receiver, we get this running back, we get this, we need to be better on the offensive and defensive line to ever be competitive again. If you ask me, that's my first and foremost. We have to be better on the lines.
And so Keegan here mentioned, what coaches want to come if you're feared you're going to get fired in the first few years. I don't think any coach that takes a head coaching job, their goal is to be successful. So I don't know if that's their thought coming in. I also would think that they're going to look at Frost specifically and say, look what he did in 5 years. Okay, I understand why he got fired. I'm going to do better. And that's why they're going to come here. But again, give Mickey the reins and see what he does. I do think our offensive line was a little bit better yesterday in the run game.
And they sure were. Yeah. I'm not criticizing every aspect.
We have a 1,000-yard rusher on our team.
We sure do.
Grant should easily get 1,000 yards this year, but the problem is we haven't played offensive lines that are bigger and better than us.
We haven't played a good Big Ten team yet. We played Northwestern, and we sucked.
And they beat us up on the line. So
yes,
they're beating us
exactly.
up.
And North Dakota beat us up on the lines last week. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so if they're beating us up, and then we got beat up a little bit yesterday against Georgia Southern, what's Minnesota going to do to us? What's Iowa going to do to us? What's Michigan going to do to us? Like
some of those terrible Illinois teams that suck are going to eat us up on the lines. And we're going to be like, why did we lose to them? Because of the lines. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
And so, I think what's going on with tackling, I wish I knew, Alex, because our defense,
Bill O'Brien is someone that...
Bill O'Brien's been thrown out there a lot.
I keep getting texts about him.
So, what's going on with the tackling? Our guys are diving in open space rather than going back to their fundamentals. We've talked about fundamentals multiple times over the last few years, and we lose
almost
fundamentals.
Every week.
You stop tackling the way you're supposed to tackle. Again, we are big football guys when it comes to how much we play. We didn't play a lot of football, but I still know the sport.
I'm not saying I can do it.
When you got a guy,
saying that's what you're supposed to do.
When you're running full speed at somebody and you just dive, they have all the power to move whichever they want to move, or you're diving at their ankles. Yeah, they're going to be fine. So we got to get back to our fundamentals again. I can't believe I'm saying that again. Another year back to fundamentals to be better football players.
This is why our head coach got fired today.
Yep.
Exactly right.
Donnie, peace out. Enjoy your drink. Here's another thing. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, guys.
Sorry, reading some of the comments. I get off track too.
I am, and I know we've talked about this before. It's so hard to sit here and talk about Husker football when it's the same conversation we've been having over the last 4+ years. In fact, 8 years. This is our eighth year doing the show. And we talk more about losing than we do winning.
Riley seasons and Frost seasons, so bear with us.
We just, Mike and things are having the same conversation in 2 or 3 years.
Time to drink, Donnie. Cheers, bro.
Man, this is, we are drinking the walk-on red ale from Infusion, so it's a very good red ale there.
It's phenomenal.
Alex. And when you say red beer, don't pour that tomato juice crap in your Bud Light. That's not red beer. Get an actual red ale. You'll thank me later if that's what you're leaning towards.
I've been having the same conversation 2 or 3 years.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. If we can figure it out, I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
We can pay anyone, but it's just bringing the right fit in. And I thought that was Frost, and it clearly wasn't.
Well, and we've talked about this before too. The black shirts. The black shirts. Stop handing them out at the beginning of the season before we even play our first games.
Agreed.
Because right now, none of them should have a black shirt, except for maybe Garrett Nelson. Maybe. He is the one guy on the field every game.
Garrett Nelson is the only player.
You see him playing his heart out
that
every
actually
game.
Has Nebraska football passion. if you ask me. I love Caleb Tanner. I like it. I like Newsome. I like Buford. I like Farmer. I like Reimer. I like Henrich, who's been out. But Garrett Nelson is the only one that bleeds Nebraska red.
He's the guy that'll get his helmet knocked off on the field, have a bloody nose. He'll be running downfield to make a tackle. That's exactly who he is. I saw a lot of guys yesterday refusing to tackle, refusing to make a play, pulling up and not sure what to do. It's like the guy's got the ball. Hit him.
Exactly.
He's got the ball. Don't stand there and watch. Just hit him. So we don't have that.
You got him in the back of it for a loss of 5. Hit him. Knock him down. He's going to run for 4, 5, 10 yards, and that's what happened every play.
We don't have that killer instinct on defense, except for a couple guys, and Garrett Nelson is one of those guys.
He's the only one that should be a true black shirt this year.
The two guys that they're honing in on defense that they have to, and they absolutely have to, or they will destroy them, is the guys we talked about at the beginning of the season, Garrett Nelson, Caleb Tanner. If they don't, Garrett Nelson's making tackles 15 yards downfield. Why is he making that tackle? Why? Because he works his butt off.
He's rushing the passer, and then he's coming back to make a tackle downfield. That should not happen.
No. The passion you speak of left when Solich was fired. Man, we don't have that smash mouth. We don't. And this is not the first time we've talked about it. It just gets more frustrating over and over again that we don't have that killer instinct on defense to go and just F somebody up. Your goal is to knock them off their feet. Knock them off their feet. Stop diving at their feet. Take them off their feet. Lift them
Wrap them up.
I don't
Put your hands on them.
I don't like penalties, but I would rather have a hard penalty because you drove somebody the way you're supposed to and hit them the way you're supposed to than pulling up or trying to make an ankle tackle. It's frustrating.
Yeah, man. The tackling through the first 3 weeks has absolutely been atrocious. And, the funny thing is it's like we can't get pressure on the quarterback or get a sack against the 3 weakest opponents that we're going to play. How does that look going forward?
I constantly remind myself that those are the 3 worst games that we have, or 3 worst opponents we have this year, and I want to cry.
And maybe things are different. You're playing some of these smaller conference teams. They're gonna throw a lot of different things at you, and you play a Big Ten game, and maybe it's just stand them up, and we might be able to have a scheme to get some pressure and get a sack. But if you don't get a sack against a team like that, that's mind blowing. Texas sucks, and they almost beat Alabama yesterday, and they got sacks, and they were pressuring the quarterback every play. So that was one of the biggest differences I noticed watching that game yesterday was they're playing against the best of the best, and they get pressure on the quarterback every play, and we never get pressure on the quarterback.
So Caleb mentioned, is our pass rush wasn't supposed to be better? Yeah, it was. It was, Kayla. A lot of things are supposed to be better. We brought in a lot of transfer guys. Our defense is supposed to be stout. We're supposed to get a lot of good pass rush. Ty Robinson, Ross mentioned he's a bust. Biggest 4-star bust. That was I sort of agree. It's just disappointing. We're not seeing much from him. He's not getting the quarterback getting sacked.
And honestly, if I may, when Chenander, when Frost took over and Chenander took the job. And we decided we were going to run a 3-4. I was not all in on the 3-4 in the Big Ten. And it's because you can't get pressure to the quarterback. Yep. You rely on linebackers having to rush and leaving yourself vulnerable for passes in the flat. Yeah. Guess what our biggest issue is? Yeah. Not getting pressure on the quarterback and giving up passes in the flat. So maybe that's not the answer. And I'm not a coach. I'm not a football person. But I'm just saying.
Someone did say earlier, I missed their name, but they mentioned, give me $200, I'll go coach. We may not be coaches, but I think we know what we're talking about. I think we can go coach.
I'm just saying, something has to give.
But give me $1 million.
If you can't get pressure at the quarterback, you have to change something.
Yeah.
And if you can't get pressure at the quarterback, but you try to get pressure on the quarterback, and that leaves you vulnerable to just like these easy plays for these shitty teams. What are we doing?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's all I got right there.
It is. God, I feel like. Again, I mean, and this is not the first time we've said it, but you watch the game, and after you watch the game, you know these players and coaches go and watch film, and they break something down. They break down the game, and then they have to work on what they didn't do well. But we continue to make those same mistakes the next game, and the next game, and the next game. It's like, are you even watching film?
The problem is we watch a lot of football, and we watch other teams, and we see that they do good things or normal things, and we don't do that. And we don't make adjustments. Like, oh yeah, you might miss a tackle here or there in another game. They fix that right away. In the next play, they tack for a loss, tack for a yard, pick six, whatever. We don't do that.
So
it's mind-blowing.
Sorry, I think it was James.
Yeah, it's
we
been
over 600 yards.
It's been 1,500 plus yards in our first 3 games against our worst 3 opponents.
So Russell, do me a favor while you're here. I want to know the last time we gave up over 600 yards on defense. Find that information for me. We could Google it right now, but we're a little busy. Kenneth is still mad about the decision. Housewives, Tim, come on, man. This is the least excited I've been about the program since Colleen was fired. Mike, 100%. And guess what? A lot of people were happy about Bo being fired, and then a lot of people were really sad about Bo being fired, and kind of go back and forth.
And people have been talking about it since, especially lately. His passion is what we need. I don't care if he's getting flags thrown at refs on the sideline, yelling at players. That's what we need. We need people getting in someone's face and getting this going. Come on.
Yeah. Nobody wanted to win more than Frost, and I don't think anybody
don't
doubts
disagree
that. I don't think
with
anybody doubts that. It's the fact the product we put on the field. And I think Kara, I think it was you asked, are we doing enough in the gym? Shit. I don't know. I mean, if you're on Instagram following these guys, like they're in the gym all the time, they look like they're pushing a lot of weight. Are we training correctly? I don't know. I don't know if it has to do with the strength. It has to do with fundamentals. You don't have to be the strongest guy in the room if you can have basic fundamentals. Look at Iowa. Iowa's a horrible offensive team, but their
worst offense I've ever seen in any sport of all time.
But their offensive and defensive lines play fundamental football to where their footwork, their hands, they don't commit these penalties.
And they can push you enough to get a handful of yards every play.
Because it's fundamentals. Yes, it's strength involved there too.
Is it boring? Does it suck to watch? I could not be a fan. Yes, they get what they want. They get 3 to 5 yards every play. Quarterback sucks. He can't throw the ball. They get 3 to 5 yards every play. They play unbelievably solid defense and phenomenal special teams. Punts inside the 5, blocked punts.
And look what PJ Fleck's done in Minnesota. Where did he focus on first? Not his running backs, not his quarterback, not his defensive backs. He focused on his defensive line. And after we whooped up on him, our first win for Frost, guess what? They came and kicked our ass next year. You know why? Because they worked on fundamental football on the defensive line. They got guys from the transfer portal.
And they're going to beat our ass again this year.
Probably. Well, hopefully Mickey can make some changes, but chances are they're going to beat us on the line. So we have to get creative.
We will have to get creative. I mean, that's what sucks. Like, I genuinely like Casey Thompson. I genuinely like Anthony Grant. And Trey Palmer and Marcus Washington and these guys. But they are not going to be able to do it all when they don't have an offensive line that can step up in front of them. And when the defense can't back them. Like, I feel really bad for Casey Thompson because, he left Texas after they had a down year, several years, but he's genuinely, pretty good. He can run, which we didn't think we really needed him to, but he did. And he can run, and he scored 3 touchdowns. But Anthony Grant as a running back is phenomenal. And we can sling it. We can throw the ball to Palmer, to Marcus Washington, to the tight ends, to anybody, but we just can't do it on the offensive line and the defense.
1956 against Oklahoma, we gave them 656 yards. Thanks, Dalton. That's the last 1956. So again, we're breaking records that haven't been broken in a long time in Nebraska. So now we get blown out the rest of the year instead of these close games. I know a win's a win, but I'd rather have a close game than blowouts. I don't know. That's not Nebraska's MO over the last 5 years. We won't get blown out. I hope we don't get blown out, but I don't know. I don't got an answer for that.
To that point, we've lost like 13 out of the last 14 games by one score. Are you still sure you want to play a one-score game? Because I'm over it. I'm legitimately over it. Like, I don't care. I don't care about the one-score games anymore. We can win by however many points, but I'm done with this one-score, like, oh, we're so close. We're right there. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
I'm legitimately done with it. Because we lose 99% of the time.
Yeah. And so someone mentioned you gotta play with violence. Like you gotta play with the mean spirit, and we don't got guys that playing with a mean spirit, and it's frustrating because again, I mean we grew up, we were kids in the '90s, and we watched this smash mouth football where guys were just literally kicking the crap out of each other. We saw guys running around making tackles without their helmets on and bleeding. We saw jerseys getting ripped. We saw people's helmets being smashed off. We saw shoulder pads being ripped. Like. It was violent football. It's not allowed as much anymore. But
it is a different game. And I had someone come to me the other day and they said, "You a Nebraska fan?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they said, what sucks is back in the day, or at least, not as recent as it has been, like every tackle you would see like 4 guys in on the tackle.
Yeah.
And now we have single guys flying in there missing tackles, and they're like, it just seems different. And I know the sport is different than it was in the '90s, so you can't circle it back to that. But we used to be very good on defense, where a lot of guys were on every tackle, and now it's not that same way, and it's just pretty sad to see.
So Ross, here, real quick, Kara, sorry I mentioned that she selling a lot of those. We almost always win shirt. Kara, if you're selling those, hit us up, send us a message. Ross mentioned too, like if we get 6+ wins, if we get 6 wins this season, was Frost the problem? It's hard to say that he wasn't the problem if we have guys that are more motivated to play under Mickey Joseph than they were under Frost over a 5-year span, 4+ year span, right? Like, that makes sense, right? You would have to say that he was the problem or a big part of the problem if that happens.
I do think you said earlier, Frost's arrogance when he came in, I think his ego did cost this team some wins over the last few years, and I'm not going to doubt that at all. But over the last year or two, maybe he still has that, but I don't know that really cost us wins. I think he was just in scramble mode and was just trying to do whatever he could to get this team a win, and he was unable to do that. So we're here.
And Kara and James going back and forth about Bo. Listen, we have a personal relationship with a few of the guys that played for Bo. They loved him.
They love Bo.
And again, like you mentioned,
Bo's a ride or die, dude.
And like you mentioned, it was the boosters. It was the boosters that didn't like him. They didn't like the way that he represented Nebraska when it came to the media. Which again, if you want to bring in Urban Meyer is a dick. The boosters aren't going to bring in Urban Meyer. He is a PR nightmare. He sticks his finger up. Never mind, we're not going. But he's just not. He's not a good guy. He's not. He's not. And I don't care what you guys say about Bo or anybody else. Urban Meyer's not a good dude. So yeah, that we lost that Akron game. We lost to Troy. I mean, we've lost to more teams that are non-conference than probably combined ever before.
Non-Power Fives.
Yeah, I mean, man.
Agreed. I mean, especially like you lose that Troy game that first year of Frost. It just looked like this wasn't gonna work from there, and I should have probably seen the writing on the wall from there. But I had so much faith and so much hope in this, and so moving forward, I think we need to find someone that's
Matt Turman, the Terminator, coming from Scott.
Yeah,
Bring from Scott? No, he's not. They're not going to bring him up.
No, Scott sucks this year. So no.
Yeah. Riker did play against Troy. You're right. I don't know if it mattered. I just think, guys, it is holy cow. So again, Mickey's going to get a shot here. He's going to have this chance to prove himself as a head coach and see what he does. I'm excited to see what he does. Again, a lot of speculation was they're bringing him in to see if he's got that, if he can be a head coach if they get rid of Frost.
I guess it will be pretty telling this week because, last year we went to Norman and minus a blocked extra point and a couple of, blunders that we had, we almost could have won that football game.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty good team. So, and I know that they struggled early in the season. They kind of got together. But, it will be telling if we get boat race, which I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we do.
Yeah.
If we play well enough to be competitive in that game, then I will be interested to see where we go from here. You know, it's gonna be even tougher because then now what do we do?
Yeah.
So.
Russell says 60-7 Oklahoma, but actually we got predictions coming in. Yeah,
no, we're gonna score, dude. We're gonna score. They might score 60, but we're gonna score at least
at least
5 to 42.
No, it'll be a one-score game. Vegas moved the spread from 7.5 to 15.
They did. Since Frost got fired.
And
weird.
Well, no, it's probably because of the way our defense played yesterday. It probably has nothing to do with Frost. It probably has everything to do with our defense giving up as many yards and points as they did to Georgia Southern. Because, again, we can put up points. Big 12 is not known for their defense. So, look what we did last year against Oklahoma. We should have won that game and we didn't win.
Exactly
so
what I just said. Exactly. So, they moved the spread from 7.5 to 15. Is that after Frost got fired? Because, honestly, they should have probably dropped it. But that's just me. We're probably going to lose the football game. I'm obviously going to watch the game, be optimistic. Casey Thompson's going to probably be fine, and Anthony Grant's going to be great, and we're going to sling it to Trey Palmer, we're going to, and we're going to be in it like we always are for a minute. We're all going to be right there, and then...
There's been so much negativity. Let's talk about the positives from yesterday. So we did see an offense that was humming. Our offensive line was blocking well enough. They opened some holes. They did pretty good. And I think that we're going to put up some points. Casey Thompson clearly can sling the ball. And when he ran the ball, he ran with confidence. I'm like, shit, this is the first time I've seen him run the ball. And he ran well. He ran high. He covered the ball. He made sure to cover the ball because I guarantee he's been told you do not lose that damn football.
100%.
We've lost it a lot over the last 4 years with our previous quarterback.
Well,
lose that football.
And Logan Smothers comes in for one play and fumbles the football,
and now he just spun around and didn't cover it up.
And it's like, dude, here we are back in.
But a lot of promise on our offense side of the ball. Again, you got Mickey Joseph. These receivers that are newer came because of Mickey and came because of Casey. That's why they're here. They didn't come to play.
And they
come for Frost.
Not taking anything away. Brian Kenny is one of our good friends. Love him. Love Kenny Bell. Love Jordan Westerkamp. Love Nate Swift back in the day. But these receivers are some of the best receivers that we've ever had, if you ask me.
As a core. 100%.
As a core, you can sling it out to them, and they can dance around. They can make catches. We have very few drops. I love this receiving core.
Yeah,
I truly do.
I agree. I think we have a lot of promise on offense. Again, I don't think Jeff says 82-35 based on yesterday's performance. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to score only 35 points, but we might give up 82. I'll give you that.
That's actually pretty accurate, Jeff. There you go.
Yeah, Westy, Sexy, Rexy, absolutely care. They were awesome. I think we're going to put up some points. So, are we going to win? I don't know. again, it'd be fantastic if we did, but again, you're talking about a team that's going to go through a lot of change this week. They went through they got embarrassed yesterday. Nobody wants to win more than those kids on that football field. I know we said Frost, but those kids on the football field want to win more than anything else. They don't want to lose.
And we've kind of discredited that, and I'm sorry about that. Again, they're kids.
They're amateur athletes, though, whatever.
And they do get, paid or they get free education, but they care about this program more than anyone, and they are, playing for their professional careers. They're playing for their lives, man, and they aren't gonna give up.
Yeah.
At least I sure hope they don't. Do they love Frost? Probably, but
hopefully they get a fire.
I just really hope that just kind of lights a fire into this team. And last year when we played Oklahoma, I thought we'd lose by like 7 touchdowns, and we almost beat them in Norman. So now we're playing at home.
Mm-hmm.
I know we struggled the last 2 weeks at home, but who's to say that college football is absolute chaos every year.
Yep.
Yesterday was chaos. Let's make it chaos again, and let's make it a game and hope maybe we sneak out a win. I don't know.
Yeah, but
Frost gets fired and we sneak out a win.
Yeah, Bo wants nothing to do in Nebraska, but James wants the power run. Listen, there's nobody that loves the power run more than we do.
We talked about it.
Multiple years. I mean, we got Yant, which we didn't see yesterday on the field at all. But I think you get Yant, you get Allen on the field, you get Grant on the field, you get Gabe Irvin on the field. Get those 4 guys, get them reps. Good God, we could do some damage back there. Get the damn fullback. Yant could be a fullback. That dude's a beast.
He actually truly could. And, Frost kind of didn't want to do the fullback run game. And
no coach really wants to. You don't see it a lot.
And I was very critical about us not playing Ramir Johnson and Gabe Irvin. But Anthony Grant and A.J. Allen are phenomenal. Why would we not play those two?
But I do want to get Ramir in the game.
I want to get him in the game, too. And I want to get Gabe Irvin in the game, too. Or these guys are going to transfer.
Yeah.
They're all great, but it's just so hard when we suck this bad. Obviously, if you're in a backup role, you're probably going to bounce.
Yeah.
But these kids are so good. But I will say, I've been very impressed through 3 weeks with definitely Anthony Grant, which I was not expecting.
Yeah.
And A.J. Allen impressed me far
AJ
beyond
incredible.
yesterday. He was awesome. He's a beast. I'm a big fan. So.
Yeah, Mike wanted to run the ball more down their throat. Again, we can say it all day long, but we got to focus on our lines. Our lines got to be better. And we ran quite a bit. We saw over 100 yards.
It's not even that. That's not even our problem. We're running the ball well enough, and then we're throwing it out well enough. Honestly, for me, the offense is good enough to be a 9-3 team right now. It's the defense that just absolutely sucks.
Yeah. But Mike, I do like your point. I do love to run the ball.
I love running the ball
too. More. Kara asked a question about is our transfer portal going to be lit up? You're going to see some guys go, but there's a lot of guys that Frost, that I think are probably closer with Frost that are towards the end of their college career. I don't see them transferring, but we'll see.
The thing about the interesting thing is a lot of recruits go to a school for a position coach, and a lot of decommits that you see is because that that position coach takes another job somewhere else, or gets they were a wide receiver coach and they get a head coaching job somewhere else, and then they end up transferring there or whatever, or committing there. I don't know that we really see that much of a drop. I mean, I sure wouldn't think. It does make me a little bit nervous, but the way these position coaches are, they're the main recruiters, and if we can keep them around, that was my biggest thing. Sorry. That was my biggest thing was, if we fire Frost, what are we going to do from here? We're going to lose all the recruits that we have and this and that. But if we keep those position coaches, like Mickey Joseph, main recruiter, I think we can keep a lot of these recruits that we have coming in, and I think we can keep a lot of these transfers that we have. Yes, we're going to have kids transfer away. It happens every year. doesn't matter what you could be the best team or the worst team. You're gonna have kids transfer away because that's the way of the world right now with football.
I think we'll keep a lot of the transfers because they came for not Frost.
I
They came for Whipple. They came for Joseph. They came for Raiola.
And that's why I think
reasons.
we can't just start fresh with like a new coach.
Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Nick Saban came to Nebraska, man. I would laugh.
Just stop.
Just stop.
But you lost my train of
but
thought, bro.
But I think Mickey and James made a good point. I think Mickey's gonna be able to keep these guys here. We saw what Mickey did at LSU, guys. We did, and I don't see any reason.
And Mark Whipple had a Heisman candidate quarterback last year. That's what I was gonna say. It's not like Frost getting fired. It is what it is. But with the talent that we brought in and the coaches that we brought in, it was Frost is getting fired right now. Those other coaches aren't, and if we hire a new fresh head coach,
yep.
He's gonna bring in his own coaching staff, and this entire staff is gonna be fired or let go, and we're gonna have to bring in an entirely new group of kids, and that is not what we want to do, if you ask me.
Which is why Mickey gets what he needs right now. Provide him all the resources, all the respect that he needs. Give him the chance to get these guys fired up for Oklahoma and the rest of the season. No other changes are going to be made the rest of the season unless it's Chenander getting fired. But I don't see anybody else leaving. Mickey is going to be the guy that's going. He doesn't have the experience. No, you're right, Ross. He does not have the experience. But a lot of times you bring in a guy that has limited experience or a little bit of experience, and they fall flat on their face. Getting someone promoted from a wide receiver coach to a head coaching job has worked out in a lot of different scenarios, and I see it potentially working out with Mickey here as well. I want to see what he can do.
I think my biggest question going forward that I don't have an answer to, which we always have answers.
We're not still paying any coaches right now.
We always have the answers, and they're usually right. But the question that I have right now is, where do we go for a DC right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I haven't done any research on it. It just kind of popped in my head. Like, where do we go for a defensive coordinator right now? And it sucks because I loved Chenander last year. And I literally thought he would be great this year. But how bad it's been. If, we're trying to find a new head coach and we're trying to keep, the coaches that we have. I don't know that we want to keep him. I think we want to maybe branch out.
We won't be paying Frost for the next 7 years. He only has, a couple more years left on his contract anyways. Because they restructured it, they brought it down, but...
Adam Carricker for defensive coordinator, bring it on.
The Peter brothers.
Either one of them.
Nasty. Grant Wistrom, bring him on. Hey, Grant Wistrom is going to be signing autographs at David Buster's on the 24th. We shared the information on that. You can go talk to him yourselves because we might go and chat with him a little bit. Like, hey, you want to move back here from Missouri and come coach the guys? And so someone, I think it was Kara, mentioned we're breaking all the wrong records. That's the first time in Nebraska history that we've lost a home game when we scored more than 35 points.
It was. I saw that before in the third or fourth quarter, they posted, Nebraska's never lost a home game when they scored 35 or more points. And that's incredible that it was to Georgia Southern.
Yeah. So, Kenneth, off topic. The beer being sold at games, you're all for it, but the people behind you were so drunk that they were yelling in your ear and selling stupid stuff. It was so annoying. Kid sitting next to you was very uncomfortable. You're going to have mixed reviews on the beer in the stadium, and I get it. 100%.
As much as it pains me to say, because...
when I go to a game, I get drunk enough before the game, and I'm just drunk all game, and then by the time fourth quarter hits, I'm sober, or sobering up. By the time I leave and get back to my car and sit and talk before I actually get in the car,
and drive an hour home, but it's actually 3 hours home.
Yeah, no, I feel you, Ken.
Maybe we need to let this sellout streak end.
I mean, Yeah, we saw all the tickets. Cool. It's technically been dead for a long time, but we saw all the tickets.
It's cool, but it's not that cool.
Yeah.
You know what's cooler? Winning.
That is pretty cool.
Let's break that cycle and let's win.
That is pretty cool. Winning's pretty cool. I agree.
God.
I agree. Holy cow, guys. We've almost taken out every time.
We have. And I was going to talk for 7 minutes today, so.
I've had a cold, really bad cold since yesterday. I wasn't planning on having any beer, but Frost getting fired, I'm like, nah, I have to. Now I have to. So we appreciate you guys being on the show. Holy cow, we have like 300 plus comments. This is incredible. You know, come over to 2 Average Guys. Follow us over on 2 Average Guys as well.
You bet.
We do all of our live videos here. We post content on 2 Average Guys. Dalton's been great to let us post on Cornhusker Nation. But please come check us out every week. We'll be here after every show or after every game. Hopefully,
it's still fun. It's just
we just want to win.
We just want to win.
Winning is so much more fun.
So much more fun.
So James, Kara, Alex, Ross, Russell,
Micah,
Kenneth, Micah. Holy cow! We had Christina. We had so many comments today. Caroline. So many comments today. It was fantastic. A lot of interaction. One of the best shows we probably had since Frost was hired. But yes, Kara, we're Husker fans for life. I mean, shit. I'm wearing my Husker shoes.
I should be wearing a Buck shirt because the Bucks are gonna beat the Cowboys tonight.
No, they're not. Go Cowboys. Don't comment on that because I don't want any Cowboy hate. But love you guys. Appreciate you being on the show. We're gonna end it here. We're gonna put on some more Killigans. Listen to a few more minutes of their song here. Again, thank you to the Killigans for letting us play your song, even though we were having a rough
drink beer with us every week and just kind of try to have fun like we do.
We will, eventually get you guys on the show as well. But thank you all. We'll see y'all next week after the Oklahoma game. Hopefully, we have a lot of positive takeaway, win or lose. But let's see how
beat Oklahoma. Come on.
Let's see how Mickey does. Let's give him a chance. Go Mickey Joseph. Go Big Red. And y'all have a great night.
Cheers, bro.
With the tassel on the corn, you can hear it grow in the evening glow, or the